Okay, so throughout my years of teaching, one of the very frequent questions that students ask would be, why do we have to learn math? Okay, do we ever need to use it in the future? Okay. Well, the truth is, most of the time, most of the students they use very little math. Okay, when they in the future when they have their career, and so then what is the purpose of learning math then? Well, actually, the math is a great tool, okay, in life. Okay, you can use it for a lot of things, but the most importantly, it has a spiritual implications. Okay, so first. Let's kind of look at like the purpose in life. Okay, so if you look at Jeremiah chapter 9 verse 23, it says, "Thus says the Lord, let not a wise man glory in his wisdom, neither let a mighty man glory in his might. Let not a rich man glory in his riches, but let him that glory in this, that he understand and knoweth me, that I am the Lord." Okay, so the purpose in life is to know God and to glorify God. So how does math can do that? Okay, so let's go to Romans chapter 1, verse 19. It says that because that which may be known of God is manifest in them, for God hath shown it unto them. And it says, for the invisible things of him from the creation of the world are clearly seen, being understood by the things they are made. See, God is an invisible God. So how is God going to communicate to us? Because we are finite, God is infinite, right? So God communicates to us through his creation. Okay? Again, so everything that you see around you, everything in the creation, is God trying to tell us something. God trying to communicate something about him through his creation. Okay? And so we need to be more aware of this. So from now, as you look everything around you, there is a message there somewhere. Okay? Again, God tried to communicate about himself through his creation. Okay? So from Romans 1:19. That means God communicates about him through like biology, chemistry, physics, math, history, okay? Everything that, or even language. Okay? So again, all those God tried to communicate something about him, okay? So everything that he created. Okay, so what I'm going to today is I'm going to go over some of the math and how does math can communicate. How can math use as a like an object lesson to communicate about God and his attributes. Okay. Okay, so let's say if you start with the square root. So this problem is very easy, right? Square root of 1 is equal to 1, right? So it's not a problem, okay? So the object lesson of this is that the square root represents God's creation or the world, right? And this one represents man, okay? So first God created Adam, right? Inside in the world, it's all perfect. It's very simple, no problem, right? But when Adam sinned, okay, and then after that they have kids, right? So it perpetuate generation after generation, right? So what happened? It become this. So Adam have kids, okay, and then have the next generation, and have next generation, okay. So now again, there's sin in the world. So every generation there would be more sin, okay. So now you have lots of problem, okay, and then it just go on forever. So now, how are you going to solve the problem? How are you going to solve the sin problem now? Before it's very easy. When the world is perfect, you can, well, that's equal to 1, not a problem, right? Okay. But now, when Adam sinned, the sin entered the world, and then every generation after that, it get more and more complicated. Sin gets more and more worse, right? And that's why, in the beginning, even when Adam sinned, right, they still lived like over 900 years, right? Yeah, like 900 30 or 60 years, right? Whereas now, as a sin get more and more progressed and more pronounced, what happens is people's life gets shorter and shorter. So right now, on the average, we live maybe about 86 years or so, something like that, right? Okay. Again, if you read the book of Genesis, right, look how the lifespan of man keep decreasing, right? Because the sin get worse and worse and worse, right? And therefore, people's, because of that, people's life gets shorter and shorter and shorter because of the consequence of sin and God's judgment. Okay. So now you have the sin problem. How are you going to solve this problem? Okay. So again, that's how to do with the Bible. If you look at Romans 5:12, it says, "Wherefore, as one man sinned, by one man sin entered into the world, and death by sin, and so death passed upon all men, and that all have sinned." Okay. So what happened is, because of sin, right, now death also enter in the world. Now you got big problem. Okay. So now the way to overcome that is, okay, now you cannot solve the problem. See what happened in the Old Testament time? The people will try to solve the sin problem by sacrifice, right? But see what happened in the sacrifice, if you look at the book of Hebrews, okay? So if you look at the book of Hebrews chapter 10, okay, let me just read to you guys. Okay. So verse 3, it says, "But in those sacrifices there is a remember again made of sins every year. For it is not possible that the blood of bulls and of goats shall take away sins." So what happens, so in the Old Testament time, so this is how people deal with sin, okay? So they sacrifice, like animal sacrifice, right? Every year they have to bring a sacrifice. Now what a sacrifice will do is, the sacrifice does not take away the sin. It only covers up the sin, okay? So let's say if you have a sacrifice, okay? And so you cover up the sin. So let's cover up the sin. So you cover the sin. Okay, so that's first year. So the next year, sacrifice again, so cover up more sin. Okay? But now, remember, every year you're gonna get more people, right? Okay? So does it help with the sin problem? So next year you sacrifice again, you cover up the sin, right? So you keep going, right? But notice what happened to the sin problem. Does it solve the sin problem at all? No, right? It does not matter. Every year that when they offer the sacrifice, they only cover up the sin, but when they cover up, the problem actually gets worse because there are more people, right? Okay? So notice it does not change the sin problem. It's still the same problem. Okay? So man cannot solve the sin problem from outside. Okay, from outside. Okay, how about from inside? How about each one of us, let's say, okay, I want to get rid of all my sin from inside. Is that possible? Well, you can't, because if you're going to start to get rid of from inside, because remember, this is going on forever, right? So you cannot even start. Okay? You cannot even start from the inside. So you can cover up the outside one by one, right? At least you can start. But it doesn't help the problem. So another way is try to start from inside. The problem is this goes on forever, so you cannot even start. So what does that mean? That means you cannot even begin to save yourself, right? You try to get rid of all the sins from yourself. Why? Because when you sin, you're spiritually dead. And if you're spiritually dead, how can a dead person do anything, right? Spiritual dead person do anything spiritually? Can't. So you cannot even begin, because a person cannot even begin to save him or herself. Okay? So you cannot solve the sin problem from outside, and you cannot do it from inside. So it looks like you're stuck, right? Well, the only way to solve it is if you go by the next verse, okay? 2 Corinthians 5:21, it says, "For he hath made him," so God made Christ, "to be sin for us, who knew no sin, that we might be made the righteousness of God in him." Okay? So the way to God solve the sin problem is make Christ to be sin for us. Okay? That means set it equal to X, right? X is Christ. By the way, in Greek, Greek, right? Christ means Christos, right? Christos means, that's a Greek word for Christ. And that's Christos, the first letter is X. Okay, Christos. Okay, so you see how everything all kind of nice fit in, right? Okay, so the way God solved the sin problem is by make Christ equal to sin, all the sin of the world. Okay, but does that solve the problem? No, it's still not solving the problem. Okay, because what happened is, see, this is the world and this is the heaven, right? So even God made Christ, to be sin for all of us. But if Christ still stay in heaven, it still does not solve the sin problem. Okay? So what God need to do is to send Christ to become a man. So if you look at 1 John 3:5, it says, "And ye know that he was manifest to take away our sins, and in him is no sin." Okay? So in order for Christ, so first God made Christ to be the sin for us. Next thing he had to do is he had to make him a man, manifest into a man, because if he stay in the heaven, it still does not solve the problem. Okay? So to manifest, notice x equal to square root of 1 plus whatever, right? So notice that this is also equal to x. So this becomes 1 plus x, because this whole thing over here is also x. Right? See, x equal to square root of 1 plus something. So square root of 1 plus something equal to x. So this becomes like this. Okay? So again, so God made Christ to be sin for us. Then he manifests, so Christ manifests to be a man in the world. Right? Radical stand for the world. Right? So now now Christ is able to solve the sin problem. Right? To solve this equation, you square both sides. Right? You make it equal to 0. Right? Move everything to one side. Then you use the quadratic formula. Right? So x equal to, negative b plus or minus square root of b squared minus 4ac over 2. Right? So x equal to 1 plus or minus square root of 1 plus 4 over 2. Now, because the square root, you know that this is not going to be a negative number, right? So the answer will be positive number, so you can get rid of the negative. So x equal to 1 plus square root of 5 over 2. Okay? Now, this is called a golden ratio. Okay, so notice now this is gone. See, that's how God solved the sin problem, by make Christ to be sin for us, and he manifests into a man in the world. Okay, and now the sin is taken care of. Okay, now what are significant of this? Again, 1 means man. Okay, plus square root. So again, notice the man is outside the world, right? Because he's God, right? Okay, and in the world now 5. The Bible, the biblical numerology, the numbers have meanings, usually stand for something. 5 means grace. Okay? So again, the way that God solved the sin problem and saved man is by providing grace in this world. Okay? And that's how you overcome over 2. Now what does 2 mean? Well, 2 means division or second death. Okay? So by making sin for us, and manifests himself into a man in this world, like God was able to solve the sin problem. Okay, and again the conclusion is Christ is a man outside the world and is providing the grace in the world, and that's how he overcome the second death. Okay, so again that's a lot of like a object lesson for that. So now let's go to the next thing. Now, the reason that this is able to work is had to be because of infinity. Because notice, the only way that this will work is this goes on forever, right? So this is so like eternal. They have to do with forever, right? Eternity, okay? And you're going to see this golden ratio a lot, okay? Again, you're going to see, again, this represents by God's grace, He's able to save the world and, get rid of the sin and overcome the second death, right? Okay, so you're going to see this golden ratio a lot. Okay, so you just see one of it, right? So what happens if you have this problem? Right, the complex fraction, again, we learned this a little bit earlier, right? Okay, so again, what happens when you have this? So whenever you have something that goes on forever, everlasting, right away it tells you that how to do it with God, right? Because one of God's attributes is eternal, right? Okay, so when you see something that goes on forever, right away it tells you something about God. Okay, so again, to solve the problem, okay, forever, okay, again you set it equal to x. Okay, so again, x equal to 1 plus something, right? So 1 plus whatever the fraction equal to x, right? That means this part is also x. Okay, so that means this becomes 1 plus 1 over x equal to x. Okay, again, the only way this can work is if it goes on forever. And again, the reason that God is able to solve all this kind of problem because He's eternal. So because again, one of His attributes that's able to solve the problem. So again, to solve the equation, you multiply by x, right? And again, it becomes what we had before, right? See, same thing, right? Right? So you're going to have an x squared minus x minus 1 equal to 0. So you're going to have x equal to 1 plus square root of 5 over 2, right? See that? Again, that's golden ratio again, right? Okay? Now, another thing you can see is, let's look at geometry. Okay, so let's say if you have the geometry, okay, when you have the golden rectangle, what happens is that if this is, so what happens, the ratio is about, again, it's this over here, it's about 1 point, this is equal to about 1.6, pretty close to that. So let's say if you have, so if you have 1 over, this is 1 and this is x, and this would be x plus 1, right? So this is golden ratio. What happens is, this one, if you keep cutting into like a square, if you cut off the square, keep cutting off the square, the ratio of the length and width always stay the same, okay? Or you can expand bigger, so you can keep adding square, for example, okay? If you keep adding the square, okay? So you can go either direction. You can go forward or backward. Again, the ratio would be stay the same, okay? So again, this is another example of the golden ratio. Okay, this one is probably not as obvious to you guys. Another one is the Fibonacci sequence. Okay, so you got 1, 1, 2, 3, 5, 8, 13, 21, 34, 55, 89, okay, and so forth. This is called a Fibonacci sequence. A very important name. Okay, the way it works is that you add the two numbers together to the next number. So 1 plus 1 equal to 2, right? 1 plus 2 equal to 3, 2 plus 3 equal to 5, 3 plus 5 equal to 8, 5 plus 8 equal to 13, 8 plus 13 equal to 21, 13 plus 21 equal to 34, and so forth, right? This is called a Fibonacci sequence. Okay? If you take time to look at flowers, okay, look at the petals on the flowers. All the flower petals, the number of the petals would be these. Okay? So it's going to either, most of the time it's going to be either 3 petals, 5 petals, or 8 petals, or whatever. Okay? So you're not going to find like a 4-petal rose or flower. Okay? Again, so again, you see God's creation is very amazing. Okay? Now the next thing is, I'm not going to prove this, okay, but I'm just going to show you that because you guys didn't have the calculus yet, okay. So what happens is the limit of n approach to 0, so t of n over t n minus 1, this will equal to 1 plus square root of 5 over 2. Again, golden ratio. What this is saying is this. The ratio of one term before the previous one, as approaching infinity, it will becomes the golden ratio. So if you look over here, see over here, 1 over 1, right? The first one, this is 1, right? Next one, this 2 of that is equal to 2, right? This one over here would be 3 over 2. Okay, this one would be 5 over 3. Okay, this would be 8 over 5. Next one is 13 over 8. Okay, next one is 21 over 13. And you get 34 over 21. And if you keep going, when you reach up infinity, it will becomes this. Again, you can prove that, okay? But we're not going to take the time to do that, okay? Because you have to do a lot of complex fraction, do a lot of flipping, and I don't think we have time to do that. Okay. And also, if you notice it's something called Pascal triangle. So this is called a Pascal triangle. This has to do with the coefficient for the binomial expansion. Okay, I will explain a little bit in a minute. So what happens is, notice you add the numbers, you add these two to get this, right? Notice you add. That's how you get the next number, by adding the numbers. Okay, see that? Okay. And this also the exponent of the power of 11. Okay, so for example, if you notice over here, this one 1 is equal to 11 to the 0 power, right? Next one 11 equal to 11 to the 1 power. Next one is 121 equal to 11 to the 2nd power. Okay, next one, this is equal to 11 to the 3 power. See that? Okay, and this one equal to 11 to the 4th power. Okay. Now also this is a binomial expansion. So let's say if you have a x plus y to the, let's say, 4th power. Okay. Well, in this case, you're going to use a 4th power expansion. So you're going to have a 1, 4, 6, 4, 1, and so you're going to have 1x to the 4. And you're going to have 4x to the 3, y to the 1, okay? And you're going to have a 6x to the 2, y to the 2. You're going to get 4x to the 1, y to the 3. Then you're going to have 1x to the 0, y to the 4, okay? So again, this is a binomial expansion coefficient. You're going to know in the future, okay? Okay? So again, that's a binomial expansion coefficients. You're going to know in the future. So that's a lot of stuff, okay? But also, if you were to go by the diagonally, okay, so let's say if you go like this, so that's 1. Notice that that's your Fibonacci sequence, right over here, okay, and you go this. Okay, I'm trying to. Okay, if you notice, there's a 2. Okay, 1, oh, there you go, 2, right? So this is 1. That's so again. I'm going to write the Fibonacci sequence again. So it's 1, 1, 2, 3, 5, 8, 13, 21, 34, 55, 89, and so forth, right? So first, if you go across, that's 1, right? Next one, you go this way, is 1. Next one, you go over here. See, 1 plus 1 is 2. Next one, you go this way, that's 3. You go this way over here. That's 5. You go this way, see the diagonal, that give you 8. This one over here give you 13. See that? So you got 1, 7. So if you go this way, you get 21. See that? This is how amazing the numbers all work out when you go this way. So you got so this would be 21. So this would be 1, this would be 8, right? So if you go this way, so you add, right? That's 22, 23, 24, 34. See that? 34. Everybody see that? Okay. So again, you see how amazing in everything, even the like this is called a Pascal's triangle. Again, how everything will work out so nicely. So as you know more about math, okay, when I study more about math and how amazing how things is, that's just so amazing about math. Okay, so again, math is not just about, it's very important as a tool, but it also is you can really kind of appreciate about God's creation and about what God tried to reveal about Himself. Okay, the next one we can do one more. Okay, about this is called the infinite series. So you're going to learn about that in the next few chapters. So let's say if you have sum equal to 1/2 plus 1/4 plus 1/8 plus 1/16 plus 1/32 plus ... forever. Okay, so what will this equal to? Okay, so sum, how will this equal? So again, S stands for sum in the equation. So if you keep adding, well, because this goes on forever, so theoretically you will never ever get finished, right? You keep adding number, there's always next number, there's always next number. So theoretically you were never able to finish. Okay, but if you were able to add every single term, then you can get an answer, right? Okay, so the object lesson of this is that the S is sum, right? But if you think of it as a salvation, I didn't choose a letter, okay? That's the letter being used in the math book. It's just, so S is sum, and salvation start the same letter, right? Now think about salvation, right? Salvation, a lot of time we know it's by grace, right? But there are people say, yeah, but you have to work, right? You have to do good work, right? But again, think of this as your grace, okay? And think of this as a work, okay? So what happens is if you try to get salvation by adding works unto grace, okay? If you can get all the work done, doing all the perfect work, so now being a perfect person, theoretically, yes, you can get saved by being a perfect person without any sin, okay? So by doing all good work and all that, being a perfect person, yes, you can get saved. But practically, nobody can, right? Okay? Just like if you try to get salvation by keep adding work, you will never achieve it because you will never finish. Okay? So mathematically, how will you solve the problem? And also, how does it relate to theology? Okay? Of the doctrine of salvation and grace. Okay? Well, instead of trying to adding more work onto grace, to get salvation, you have to do the opposite. You have to get rid of all the work, okay, except for grace. So what you want to do is, you're going to multiply everything by, let's go and multiply everything by 1/2. Okay? So this becomes, so I'm going to multiply everything by 1/2. So keep in mind, I'm multiplying everything by 1/2. So if I multiply this by 1/2, this becomes 1/2 S, right? If I multiply this by 1/2, it becomes 1/4, right? If I multiply this by 1/2, and notice I'm shifting because I want to line things up. So I multiply this by 1/2, I get this. I multiply this by 1/2, I get 1/4. Multiply by 1/2, I get 1/8. Multiply by 1/2, I get 1/16. Multiply by 1/2, I get 1/32. And so forth and so forth, right? Then what I'm going to do is I'm going to minus. So again, instead of adding more work to get salvation, I'm going to get rid of all the work, okay? So only thing left is the grace. So you subtract, you get 1/2 S equal to 1/2 because all the work get canceled out. Get rid of all the work, okay? Then you multiply both by 2, so S equal to 1, okay? So salvation comes by grace, no work. You have to get rid of all the extra work. Same thing when you're solving for infinite series. Don't keep adding terms. You actually have to get rid of all the terms to get the answer. Okay. Again, they kind of go with the scripture, right? So if you look at the Romans 3:23, it says, for all have sinned and come short of glory of God, right? So if you try to work your way to salvation, you're always going to come short. You're never going to finish, okay? And again, if you look at Ephesians 2:8, it says, for by grace are ye saved through faith, right? And not of yourself. It is a gift of God, not of works, lest any man shall boast. Okay? So again, salvation come by grace. You have to get rid of all the work. Okay, the work has no part in the salvation. Okay? Now, the work is a result of salvation. It's not a cause of salvation. Okay, so again, you don't work to get salvation. You work because of your salvation. Okay, because when you get saved, your heart is changed. So you want to glorify God. So you want to do all the good works. So your work is like your fruits. Okay, it's not the root. So again, sometimes people get confused on that. Okay. Okay, we got time for a little bit more. Okay, the next thing is sometimes Bible does not make sense to people, and the reason because when they are not saved, when God don't open their hearts, don't open their eyes to see, they cannot see. They just don't understand. Even the truth stare in front of their eyes. Okay. Do you know 1 is equal to 0.999 repeating? It's not approximation. They're exactly equal. Okay? So again, when the truth stays in front of you, again, there are people just don't believe that. No, it cannot be, impossible, no way. Okay? So, for example, all of you know that 1/3 equal to 0.33333, right? If you get a calculator, divide 1 divided by 3, you get that, right? And it goes on forever, right? Well, what happens if you multiply both sides by 3? If you multiply by 3, multiply by 3, you get what? You get 1 equal to 0.9999, right? See? Okay? Or let's go and do the division. 1 divided by 1. Okay? Well, this one is easy, right? 1 divided by 1, you just put 1 over here. Okay? Right? So answer is 1, right? But you don't have to divide by 1 because you can do something called modulus math. Okay? What I'm going to do is I'm going to put 0 over here. So 1 times 0 is 0, right? I subtract, right? And I put decimal over here. I drop the 0, right? So I'm going to put 9 over here. 1 times 9 is 9. So I get 1, add a 0. 1 times 9, I get 9. 1, add a 0, 9, right? And so you keep going on. So again, they're equal, right? See that? Okay? Or, you haven't noticed yet, but if you go by infinite series, okay, you know this one before, okay? So let's say, so you got 0.9999 repeating, right? It's 0.9 repeating, okay? So that means, remember, you just know this, right? So how do you convert it into fraction? You let n equal to 0.9999 dot dot dot, right? 0.9 repeating is equal to 0.9999 going forever, right? Now, since there's one digit repeating, so you multiply by 10, right? So you multiply by 10, so this becomes 9.99999 dot dot dot, right? So you subtract, so you're going to get 9n equal to, or they cancel out, equal to 9. So you divide by 9, so n equal to 1, right? So again, so 0.9 repeating equal to 1, okay? And you also can do it by infinite series, okay? So n equal to 0.9 repeating, so n equal to 0.99999 dot 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 dot, right? So another method to solve that is by using infinite series. So n equal to 0.9 plus 0.09 plus 0.009 plus 0.0009 plus dot 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 dot. Okay? So that's a formula for adding up infinite series, and the formula is sum equal to T1 over 1 minus R. T1 is your first term. R is a ratio between them. Okay? So sum will equal to T1 is 0.9, 1 minus, the R is a ratio. So this over this is 0.1. Right? So again, the ratio is you multiply by 0.1, you get that. Multiply by 0.1, you get that, right? So that's the ratio. So ratio is 0.1. So when you work it out, you get 0.9 over 0.9. So sum equal to 1. See? So 0.9 repeating equal to 1. Okay? Now, so again, there are many ways to prove that. So what is the point of this? Again, when I show the student, they say, no, it's just a trick. You're tricking us. No way. Okay? Well, again, because why? Again, if you look at the 1 Corinthians 2:14, it says, but the natural man receiveth not the things of the Spirit of God, for they are foolishness unto him, neither can he know them, because they are spiritually discerned. Means they're spiritually dead. So again, when people are spiritually dead, they cannot understand the biblical truth, because this is foolishness, right? No way, right? Just like this, right? Again, if a person don't know math, they say, no, it's impossible. You're just tricking me. It's just a trick. No. But if you know about math, then you know that's